What's up guys, my name is Ace, and the big update is here with the new LMG. We've got the Obsidian Camo, Frankensmithing, and some Warzone changes as well. So today I'm going to be covering all of the main details. However, I won't be covering a lot of the little bug fixes. The reason for that is this video would just be way too long, plus for most of these bug fixes you've probably never even run into them anyways. So if you do want to check those out, I will leave a link to the patch notes down below. With my update videos, I try to go into a bit more detail on the things that matter, rather than just reading the patch notes for you guys. So let's start off with the new LMG, which is the Mk9 Bruin. And I want to share just a few basic stats for you. Keep in mind, I will have my gun guide out for this within the next 2 to 3 days or so. But I did collect some of the basic stats for you guys so far. And in order to unlock this, you have to get 3 kills in 15 different games with an LMG while your enemy is within the radius of a smoke grenade. And keep in mind, if you get 6 smoke kills in a game, that doesn't count as 2 towards your progress. You have to do it in 15 individual games, which is kind of an annoying grind, but I'd recommend just throwing on like a Merc Thermal, for instance, or one of the other thermal sites, and have Smoke Grenade with restock, and just spam them out there on objectives and towards enemies. It's going to be a lot easier on Shoot the Ship as well, and then you should be able to get this pretty comfortably within those 15 matches. Now, as for some of the basics on this, it actually has the exact same rate of fire as the Holger, which surprised me. I thought it was going to have a faster fire rate than that, and that's just not the case at all. However, it does deal more damage than the Holger, so that's something that's interesting to point out. You do have that 3-shot kill potential to the upper torso, unlike the Holger. So my overall initial impression is it's definitely a much better version of the Holger, but at the same time, it is kind of a version of the Holger. So I guess it's decent, but I wouldn't call it a top-tier gun, based on my initial impression of it at least. As for the next big thing with this update, this is the addition of the Obsidian Camo, which you do have to unlock gold for a gun before you get access to the challenge for Obsidian. You don't need Damascus though, you just need gold for that gun. And we have the requirements for that, which I'll just put up on screen. I'm not going to read through all of them, but you can see with like an SMG, for instance, you have to get 15 kills in a match 150 times. Now, it is worth noting that these 15 kill blocks do stack within a match. So if you get 30 kills, that will count as 2 out of your 150 times. Or if you get 60 kills, that's 4 out of your 150 times. However, if you were to get, let's just say, 29 kills, that still only counts as 1 out of your 150 times because you didn't quite get the 2 different blocks of 15 within that individual match. So what this means is with an SMG, the absolute minimum number of kills required to get this camo once you've already got gold on that gun is 2,250 kills. And that's assuming every single game you play, you are going to get a kill count that's exactly a multiple of 15. So either 15, 30, 45, 60, you can do the math from there. Any other kills on top of that won't be counting. So realistically speaking, you're looking at more like 3,000 to 3,500 kills just for a single SMG to get Obsidian. As for my thoughts on this, I think the camo looks pretty cool based on what I've seen so far. However, these challenges just aren't for me with this game. I'm never going to get Obsidian Camo on any of the guns in the game, and I'm okay with that. I was a little bit disappointed because I was hoping the Obsidian Challenge would be something that would entice me to actually play the game a little bit more, as somebody that hasn't really had much interest, especially in multiplayer, for a long time. I was hoping this would kind of spark some new interest, but it kind of did the opposite, if anything, because I just know that there's no way I'm going to be putting that much time into multiplayer until the next Call of Duty comes out to even get Obsidian for one single gun. So it's just not happening for me, but for those people that really enjoy this game and love sinking tons and tons and tons of time into it, you're probably going to be quite happy with this, and I'm happy for you guys. I'm happy you got that really long-term completionist camo outside of Damascus. Now, one concern I do have with Obsidian as far as gameplay goes for multiplayer is I'm worried it's going to really reduce variety in the game, especially within the next month or two. I think most people are just going to stick to their favorite gun or their favorite 2 guns because they want to get Obsidian on those guns, and therefore those are going to be the only guns they use until they get it unlocked. And for many people, this is going to take many, many weeks, and in some cases even months for people that don't have a ton of time to put into the game. But those are just my thoughts on Obsidian. The next big thing with this update is Frankensmithing, or the Gunsmith Customs, where you can mix and match various blueprints. This feature turned out basically exactly how I expected it to turn out. There's really not much to say about this, not much to mention. I personally don't have a ton of blueprints in this game, so it doesn't make that much of a difference for me, but I think it was a really cool feature that they added, and I'm glad they added it. Next up, another feature they finally added, I've been asking for this basically since launch, is a dead zone slider. for controllers, you now have the ability to adjust your dead zone a decent amount as well. And this is going to help a lot of people that have been experiencing stick drift. And that's going to be huge for a lot of people. I've actually got basically a brand new first-party PlayStation controller that is horrible with stick drift, but only in Modern Warfare. I've tested it out in other games to see if something was wrong with the controller, but it only seems to happen within Modern Warfare. And now with that dead zone option, I will be able to make an adjustment to this and hopefully get rid of that stick drift on that controller. As for a couple other little things with multiplayer that they changed out the menu screen, so now there is a challenges tab, so you don't have to go to the barracks tab to find the challenges. You have your own tab for challenges, which is a nice little quality of life feature. They also added a flaming throwing knife, which you can buy in the store, but it is purely cosmetic. It works exactly the same as the regular throwing knife. And finally, something that they didn't mention in the patch notes for whatever reason, I guess just because that's what they like to do this year, they added Dragon's Breath to the VLK Rogue shotgun. But with that, that's all the important things that we know of that changed within multiplayer, at least, with this update. Of course, knowing Infinity Ward, I'm sure there's a bunch of other changes that weren't mentioned at all in the patch notes that we will be discovering within the next few days. And I'll try to keep you guys updated if we do discover these stealth changes. But now it's time to move into the Warzone changes, and there were quite a few. The first thing is they made adjustments to the circle sizes and the circle timings with the gas movements in Warzone. And I went in and I calculated all the timings pre-patch and post-patch, and I'll just put them up on screen for you guys to see. It might be a little bit overwhelming, but let's go over the highlights. The first thing you'll notice is at the beginning of the game, the gas is going to start moving in 50 seconds sooner than it did previously, which is nice. I feel like the beginnings of games pre-patch, it was a little bit slow, and I was kind of hoping that things would get going a little bit faster, and this is definitely going to do that, so I think that's great. And all of the other adjustments are additions to the timing, so they're actually slowing it down a little bit, and all of these adjustments take place while the gas is actually moving. So the gas is actually going to move at a slower pace on many of the circles. And this is definitely going to help us have that ability to outrun the gas, and there should be far fewer situations where we can't keep up with it on foot while sprinting. And this is excellent news in my opinion, simply because unlike other Battle Royale games where you can have healing items that you can use while you get caught in the storm or the gas or whatever it is, in this game we don't really have that ability outside of stim shots, but that's equipment and it's not something you're going to find laying around everywhere. And therefore, if the gas overtakes you, you're often completely screwed. That should very rarely be happening now unless you're really not paying attention. So overall, my initial impressions of this is excellent. It actually solved a few of the problems. First one, game starts too slow. Second one, sometimes the gas moves a little bit too fast. And I think this is a great step in the right direction for Warzone. As for the next thing in Warzone, they nerfed the cargo truck. So the turning speed has been reduced, the acceleration has been reduced, and the top speed has been reduced. And this is great news as well. That thing was pretty ridiculous as far as just its ability to like turn really sharp around a corner. So even if you did get to cover as it was coming at you, it could really sharply turn around that corner. And if it even just touched you at 2 miles an hour, you're instantly dead. It actually got so bad that they removed it from solos, which now that it's been nerfed, they have also added it back to the solo mode. So I'm actually really happy about that one. The cargo truck has its role because it's the vehicle that can tank a lot of damage. It's very, very durable in that sense compared to the other vehicles, and therefore it should have some downsides like being slower and less maneuverable. As for the next thing, they added an armor satchel, and this is going to show up basically just like the gas mask would show up earlier, where it could just drop out of a random crate and you can pick it up out of that. Or if you complete a scavenger challenge now, you are guaranteed to get an armor satchel instead of a gas mask. Now, you can still buy the gas mask at the buy stations, and you'll still find those in crates as well. But with this armor satchel, what it allows you to do is carry up to 8 plates instead of 5. Now, when you pick it up, it doesn't give you any armor plates with it. It just increases your capacity, and this is awesome. I'm really happy to see this. This is definitely going to help in those late game situations, and I highly encourage you guys to prioritize completing at least one scavenger mission towards the beginning of the game so you can get up to 8 plates in your inventory. On top of this, they added a brand new contract to the map. So previously we had bounties, scavenger, as well as recon. Now we have one called Most Wanted. And with Most Wanted, what happens is it's kind of like a reverse bounty where it marks you on the map for every other team that's on the map, and this lasts for 5 full minutes. Now, you might be wondering why you would subject yourself to that, because they can actually see your exact location in pretty much real time. It updates very, very quickly. It's not like the bounties where they see like a big radius that you will be in. They actually see exactly where you're going to be, including the height. There will be a little arrow above their icon if they're above you, or below their icon if they're below you. So it's almost like you have an advanced UAV called in against you for 5 full minutes. However, if you do survive that 5 minutes, it will automatically redeploy any teammates of yours that are dead and waiting for a redeploy. On top of this, unfortunately, at least at this point, this Most Wanted contract has completely replaced bounties. So bounties don't exist in squad-based modes. Instead, they've been replaced by this. And overall, my thoughts on this, I think this is going to need some pretty big reworks. First up, 5 minutes is an extremely long time in a Battle Royale game. That is insane how long that is, especially since every single other team on the map can see your exact location in real time. It's not just one other team, it's everybody on the map. And also, the reward for this is pretty lackluster. If you are in one of those solo situations where your teammates are dead and you don't have enough money to redeploy them, instead of picking up one of these contracts where you have to stay alive for 5 minutes, which is going to be extremely difficult, you could just go and do a little bit of looting, and you could have enough money to redeploy your teammates in a really safe way much, much faster. So I just don't see the appeal of this contract at this point, aside from the people that want to just mess around and challenge themselves, I guess, to see if they can survive for that long and like try and hunker down and fight off as many people as possible. I guess I could see it in that sense, but the reward just doesn't seem to match up with the difficulty of this. Additionally, I really don't like that it straight up replaced the bounties. I thought the bounty contracts were excellent. I was always keeping an eye out for those ones. That was always my most highly sought after contracts to be going for. And now they're just gone, at least shortly after the update. Maybe that was a bug, or maybe they're planning on bringing it back soon. But I definitely preferred the bounty contracts over this. But in addition to that, with this update for Warzone, we now have kill cams, which is great, and within those kill cams, we have the ability to directly report that player as the kill cam is playing. So again, that's awesome. I think this is a great feature, and it makes it way easier to detect if somebody is hacking against you and what happened in that situation, and then you don't have to try and find them in your recent players list after the game, and oftentimes they just don't appear there. If you want the ability to report them, you can do it on the spot. On top of that, another little great quality of life feature is the mid-match scoreboard. Previously, you had to press start and then tab over to see your scoreboard. Now it's just on your standard start menu. There's no tabbing over required. So if you just press start, you can see your scoreboard for you and your team. And while that is really minor, like I said, it's just a nice little quality of life change. So those are the main things that changed with Warzone with this update. However, there's one big thing here that Joe Seacott tweeted. We can expect to see a nerf to the Akimbo snake shots as well as RPGs within Warzone very soon. They're currently in the testing phase for this, and this is really good news. The Akimbo snake shots have gotten a little bit ridiculous lately because they just put you down way too quickly when you have full armor, and they're a secondary weapon. They're not a primary that you had to use overkill on or anything. They're a secondary, and they absolutely dominate everything within about 15 meters, which is a very good range as well for a shotgun. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the nerf for the snake shots. As for the RPG, we don't know exactly what they're going to be doing to the RPG. I hope they don't nerf the RPG against vehicles, though. I feel like it should be just as powerful as it currently is against vehicles. However, I wouldn't be opposed to making it a little bit less damaging to infantry, especially infantry with armor on. Either that, or simply reduce the capacity of how many rockets you can carry at once. Currently, it's 6 rockets, which is quite a few. You can really spam a bunch of rockets out really quickly, and there's just no escape from it depending on the positioning of the enemy player. So just to be clear, those updates haven't gone through yet. Those are coming sometime in the near future, and those can come in a small playlist update rather than a big update like this. So we probably won't have to wait a really long time for this. I would expect to see it within the next week or so, I would think. But we'll just have to wait and see for that one. And that's pretty much it for the main things from today's updates. And of course, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what are your guys' overall impression of this update for both multiplayer as well as Warzone? Just let me know all of those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.